Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I am so sorry that I have not been uploading recently. One of the things I would like to talk about uh, broadly today is the idea of what my predictions are as of the month of March for the U.S. Senate, um, with recent updates and with recent going on. So obviously, I don't Washington or any of these states. Obviously, a lot of safe Democrat states, and I'm going to take the unpopular position. I know some polls recently have shown that what's his name, Harry Logan, I believe his name is, from Maryland, a popular Republican governor, is running for Senate. I don't expect him to even get close within a safe margin. I know the polls are showing him even up in some instances, but this is a general election, and Maryland has been a reliably Democratic state. And running alongside him in a presidential election, I just don't think he's going to be able to do much of anything. There are obviously some states safe for the Republicans. Let's put that here. We'll talk about Missouri. Um, I'm not going to put Missouri in the absolute safe column because Missouri is going to be an interesting case. Uh, the rest of these states follow suit. Um, we'll put West Virginia in the likely safe column. There has been reports that Joe Manchin might come back and try to run. I don't think Joe Manchin would be able to do much of anything, but I think he would be able to divert resources away, or maybe even scare Republicans into doing so, because they think he's some threat to Jim Justice. Not very sure about that theory. I do think that Jim Justice will dominate Joe Manchin if Joe Manchin does decide to run, but it wouldn't be a bad thing for Democrats to invest in. Speaking that, it would take resources away from Republicans fighting in other states. So broadly speaking, we have 12 Senate seats here that I've not characterized yet. First off, I want to get to the state of Michigan. Why am I going here first? Well, there's no incumbency in the state of Michigan. The Democrat senator is retiring, and we are having primaries, and we don't know who the nominee is just yet. So I am going to put Michigan in the lean Democrat column because I do think that Michigan, out of these states that are going to be toss-ups, Nevada, Montana, Arizona, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and that's basically it. I do think that out of this, Michigan is the most Democratic. I think Michigan will lean slightly enough, even with this Democrat nominee who nobody knows yet. I think that just with the partisanship makeup of Michigan, I think that a Democrat will pull through here. Speaking of other things, oh, I forgot to characterize. Speaking of the Midwest, we can also go to Ohio next, but first let's go down here to Missouri. So Missouri is actually probably going to have an abortion amendment in 2024 if they get the signatures, and I do think that this abortion amendment will drive up Democratic support. And I do think that people who support abortion, and with Josh Hawley, he's not very popular in the state, but I do think that with Missouri's partisan makeup, I do think Josh Hawley will pull through. I just don't think it'll be by a very good margin. I do think he will underperform. I think it'll get down to around 8 to 9 points if this abortion thing goes into effect. If it doesn't go into effect, and the Democrat candidate in Missouri doesn't perform as well as in the debates, doesn't put the hot seat under Josh Hawley. I don't think that Missouri will be competitive. But as of right now, I also don't think it's competitive. I just don't think the margins will be safe red or even likely red. I think they'll be more in the category of like lean red. Lean by I mean like 8 to 9 points. I categorize likely anything from between 20 to 15, and anything below that up until 5 is a likely column. And then lean, I go from lean anywhere to like, I would say I even put likely all the way down to like 4. I put lean more in the margin of 3 to 0 points. You can argue with me about my margins later in the comment section, but that's not what this video is for. Moving to Nevada, I think a popular name right now, but I do think that with her history of doing well, I believe she ran in 2016. No, not 2016. 2018. She did relatively good in the midterms, and I know that was a blue wave, but I'm pretty sure she outran other Democrats around the country in a state like Nevada. And so I think that Nevada is actually becoming more Republican, but I think that with the popular Democrat senator, I do think that Nevada is decided by a lean margin. I don't think that the Republican candidate is going to be a serious challenger. He has taken positions that would make it more easy to win. He hasn't endorsed a federal abortion ban. He's not very MAGA. He's more kind of like a neoconish libertarian. But I don't think that'll be enough in a state where the Democrat senator is very popular. Moving down here to Arizona, I think his name is Gallego. No, Kara Lake is a nut job. She got destroyed in the governor's race, of which she was expected to win. The polls had her up by 4, and she lost by I think 3 to 4 points. Even in a 3-way race, Gallego was beating Sinema and Carrot Lake. So I don't expect Arizona to be competitive. We'll put it into likely. I don't expect Arizona to be that competitive. I think these two states are going to lean, at least at the Senate level, or lean very likely Democrat. I don't think it's going to be very competitive here. The same for Bob Casey. I would even put Bob Casey. I think Bob Casey is going to win by a margin of 10 from 15 points. I don't think McCormick is a serious challenger. They put up a more moderate guy, Dr. Ollis last time, who wasn't in the state. He didn't wasn't Pennsylvania, wasn't connected to the area, and he lost by 5 points. And this is a general election, and I don't think that Republicans can challenge Bob Casey's standing in the state of Pennsylvania. His family has historical ties. It's a political legacy in the state, and Bob Casey's very popular. In some polls, he's already beating McCormick by about 9 points. I don't think Pennsylvania is going to be competitive. I think it's basically over as of right now, unless there's a massive shift in the polling in this state. Obviously, Republicans still have more states they can pick up and win, and we'll get to them. So let's get Florida. Let's give Republicans something. So I don't think, I forget her name, the Democrat senator and Rick Scott are polling very close to each other right now, but one thing that's important to understand is that there are a lot of undecided in those polls, and I think that with the partisan makeup of Florida, with the shifting right-leaning attitudes towards Latino voters, specifically Cubans, Venezuelans in Florida, Florida veering to the right, even with an abortion amendment on the ballot, I do think that Florida will elect Rick Scott. I mean, he barely won in 2018, but the partisan makeup of the state is no longer favorable to the Democratic Party, and I just don't think that with the way things are going, I don't see a reality in which Florida is very competitive. I'm gonna put this into likely safe column. I'll put it uh, with West Virginia in the likely safe category, I guess you could say. Kind of that in between that 15 points and that like five or less area. Um, I don't think it's going to be very competitive. I do think Texas is a different case. I think it was Aldred who won. He has a lot of funding. Ted Cruz is not popular. He almost lost to Beto O'Rourke, some no-name congressman in 2018. Get it was a blue wave year, but I do think that um, Republicans uh, extremely overestimate how popular Ted Cruz is and his ability to be competent as a candidate. I do think that Texas goes for Ted Cruz by roughly around 5 points, so it's going to be a lean state. Um, I don't think that Texas is going to elect a Democrat senator just yet, but I do think it's not going to be like this massive blowout like in Florida or Bob Casey type blowout. Uh, it could be competitive. Uh, it could come down to two or three or maybe even 1 point if it gets really, really, really tight in the polls. I don't see that happening though. I just don't think Texas is there yet. I get the shifts in the Dallas suburbs and the Austin suburbs in this area, but I just don't think Texas is ready to go blue yet at any level. Maybe we can talk about it in 2028. Not very confident right now that that would happen. Um, Moving on to Wisconsin, I think Tammy Baldwin takes this state by the same area over here. I don't expect these states to be very competitive just because they have popular Democratic incumbents. Michigan's a different story, as I've explained. I think she carries it home. Polls have her competing with the Republican who's not from the state, which is another thing that hurt Dr. Oz, and I think will hurt him especially. I don't know how you can run from Wisconsin and not be from Wisconsin. I don't even think he lives in Wisconsin, but whatever. I don't think it gets within 4 points. I think she wins by 5 to 6. I think Wisconsin goes Democrat at the Senate level, no matter what does at the presidential. Now we're down to the two most important states: Sherrod Brown versus Moreno, and then I think his name is Sheeny, whatever his name is, versus what's his name? Oh, come on, what's his name? Hold on, where is that? Come on. Jon Tester. Jon Tester. Yep. So Jon Tester, Sherrod Brown. What's going to happen here? Well, I do think that it's kind of up in the air. Both of these guys are really good at winning states that don't vote for their party. They have a good way of finding ways to win when they really shouldn't. Sherrod Brown won big in 2018. Sherrod Brown won good in 2012. I mean, he's dominated Ohio since he's been in office, and he's been able to really outrun President Obama and President or other Democrats, just as the popular candidate in Nevada did in 2018, like I was talking about. I do think with the major cities, a little bit of suburban shift, maybe some rural areas of Ohio, shifting over from, oh, we voted for Trump and we're going to go back Sherrod Brown because he's our senator. You know, we're kind of that more moderate area. We don't think Sherrod Brown is this big, liberal that's going to, like, I don't know, take our guns or something. I do think those people exist in Ohio. Sherrod Brown is beating a scandal-ridden Republican right now in the polls. And Moreno, not a very moderate guy. And I do think with Ohio voting for abortion, I think abortion still will be a big issue here. And I think in these areas where it matters, in Cincinnati, Cleveland, Toledo, regions of Ohio, I do think that a little suburban reversion amongst Republicans who would vote for Trump, but also back Sherrod Brown, will carry Sherrod Brown to um, a lean margin victory. I mean, this lean could go from anywhere from less than a point to 1 to 2 points. It's going to be close, but I think with that suburban shifts, uh, those moderate suburbanite Republicans who might vote Trump, but second guess voting for somebody who's not so moderate, like David Moreno, uh, would be what happens here. Now, Montana is a completely different case. Montana is a completely different state. It has nowhere near as many electoral power as Ohio does. Ohio is a big state with 4 major cities. Montana is a rural state with no major cities. So we're really asking Democrats to do something they haven't done here since like the mid '90s. Win rural America. Now, can Jon Tester do it? He's done it in 2018. He ran up the margins. He did it in previous elections in the state. He's going to have to win rural Montana. That's not going to be easy. It's going to be very hard. And I actually think Montana is going to be the most competitive state out of this entire map because of this dynamic. We've seen polls that show that 18% of Republicans are thinking or saying they would go support Jon Tester, which that margin with the Trump vote is enough to get him over the line, just barely. But again, polls can be unreliable. Voters can change their mind in an instant. Partisanship is a huge problem in our country right now, and I really don't know. This state is going to be so close. It's going to be such a tight election. Jon Tester's not winning by more than 2. It might get below 1. I mean, even to win by 1 in a state like Montana in this election would be marvelous. This state could get down to as little as like a few thousand votes. It's going to be close. I do think that Jon Tester has what it takes to get those rural regions to revert back to him, even though they're going to be voting for Trump. I think Team Shine or whatever his name is, he hasn't been tested. He's not a tried and tested politician like Jon Tester is. He's won in the state before, and I think that he'll win again. It's going to be very hard for him, as I've said. There's no major cities here to pull those moderate center right leaning Republicans from. There's no suburbanites to pull for abortion, even though Montana's going to have abortion on the ballot in 2024 now due to a ruling. I just don't. It's going to be very close, but I am going to put it right now as of March with the data we have in the lean Democrat column. So now we have a tied Senate again. It's going to be the closest Senate election in recent American history. Ohio and Montana could go down to as few as a few thousand votes, less than a point type margins. It's going to be very close. I do think that with this, whoever wins the presidency is going to break Senate. Now, the good news for Democrats is even if this is the map, and let's say Republicans get the vice presidency, and they what do you call it? They take Senate control. There are 2 Republicans in Alaska and Maine that if there's any sort of national abortion ban thing, they wouldn't vote for it. And that would be enough to swing the margins away from that. If you lose 2 votes, it would go from 51 to 49, and Democrats would be in the majority. Even with the vice president, you'd have a tie because oh wait, no, you wouldn't have a tie. You'd only have 49 because 2 Republicans would vote with the Democrats against it. So that's good news for abortion rights supporters and pro-choice people like me. But the Senate's not looking bright for Democrats. The most they can do is get to this map. In my opinion, I mean Texas could possibly shift, but I just don't see it. And with that, guys, this is my 2024 Senate election predictions for the this cycle as of March 23rd, 2024. Um, we'll do updates as we go, and who knows? Maybe Texas gets competitive, Missouri gets competitive. Who knows? Maybe Pennsylvania gets competitive. With that, guys, I thank you for tuning in and watching my video, and please leave a like. Disagree with me in the comments, and yeah, have a great day.